Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese, episode 404. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Zellner.
Hello.
Mark Augustiniak.
Howdy.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Mark, what is the best house in video games?
Ooh. Best house. Well, if it's not the one I'm making in The Sims, then Luigi's Mansion.
Ooh, good answer. Matt, can you beat Luigi's answer? Luigi's Mansion? As an answer. That's what I was trying to say.
No, because my first thought was the Spencer Mansion, which that seems like a nightmare, so...
But that is also a good one.
That's pretty good, because my two answers in my head were Luigi's Mansion and Spencer Mansion. So, I guess we're all part of the same nightmare. We've got a big show this week. We've got our E3 predictions coming up later on. We're going to talk a little bit about what we expect out of E3, what we're hoping for out of E3. We've got check-in with some games that have received some updates recently. New versions of games even. All of that and more. I'm excited. This is every time we get to do predictions, you get that little nugget of hope that life doesn't suck so bad, and then reality kicks in and reminds you that life is fine. It's not great, it's not terrible, it's just fine. It just is. That's the week, right? E3 is gonna be a weird thing though, because we're doing our predictions today on the 7th. The festivities between Jeff Keighley and his ex, the ESA, all kick off Thursday the 10th, kind of, and then carry through the 15th. So we're recording predictions now, obviously. We will typically record in the middle of all of that crap. I have no idea. I don't know. So by the time our next episode goes up, it'll be before Nintendo has gone. And then, I don't know. Other than that, we got a quick update from last week. Turns out Masahiro Sakurai not retiring. A little bit of a mistranslation that came out. IGN clarified with the translation of its own out of the Famitsu column now that the magazine has been released. Based on a little bit of what came out ahead of the column in the latest issue, it sounded like he was considering retirement. However, IGN clarified that he makes it very clear he won't be quitting game development anytime soon. He does ponder the question of how long he can keep working in game development. He also says this is normal for someone his age to consider. He made no concrete statement of wanting to quit the industry. He did confirm, however, that he will stop writing his Famitsu column after an 18-year run. He'll continue his regular articles in the publication until the final DLC characters for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate release. So, that's good news. I hope he gets to work on things that are not Smash Brothers pretty soon.
I hope he gets an extra 10 minutes of sleep because of this.
He probably lost 10 minutes of sleep trying to answer everybody's stupid tweets, right?
Well, he's putting in the investment now, so that way it pays off.
It's true. Just like we put in the investment a few years ago. That was actually 1 year ago. It was not that long ago. When Phantasy Star Online 2 launched in North America after years and years of hopes and predictions by one of Mark Augustiniak. And now, June 9th, PSO2 New Genesis releasing. Over here, stateside, we're getting it on Xbox One and PC. Of course, if you're in Japan, it'll be on PS4 and Nintendo Switch via the cloud as well. I gotta ask, Matt, how stoked are you for this?
I'm stoked for June 9th, but not that.
I'm excited to make a character or see what my character looks like automatically upgraded. I'm excited to see what auto fire looks like instead of having to timed press buttons. And then I'm excited to hit that point in the evening where you're ready to turn off the game. You go upstairs and you go, why did I do that for so long? I hope that doesn't happen. I just feel like it happens every time I get into an MMO like or something like it. I don't know. Mark, where are you? Day one, ready to roll? You got it pre-installed?
I do not have it pre-installed.
Can you pre-install it? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. I mean, I did watch some videos on like people having like previews of it, and I like the idea of it all kind of just being out in the open, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
like the hub world is kind of like in the center of a whole area you can explore. You don't have to worry about going to like a ship and then like load things.
Yeah, the waiting and the transferring, all that crap.
It seems like more. Yeah, it's like it's more streamlined. The menus, unfortunately, still look the same and look still confusing and a mess, and it's not good. Not good. UI. I never thought.
I saw there's still scratch tickets too.
Yeah, you gotta make money somehow, I guess.
Well, oh well. I'm intrigued though. I want to see what that
combat,
game is.
Yeah, combat alone is my most like thing I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. And hopefully, like Mark texted me, by the end of the month, hopefully they do a Sonic the Hedgehog tie-in for the anniversary. If PSO2 is not your bag, June 9th might also be lining up for you, or the stars have aligned for you, I suppose. I gotta get better at my transitions. You know what it is, Matt? I'll tell you what it is. I had coffee this morning. However, excitedly to sit down for the podcast, I opened the refrigerator to grab me a nice cherry Bing energy drink. I'm all out. So I'm over here. I'm working on coffee and water like a weird peasant.
That's good. Cherry Bing, bad.
It's good, man. They've been 3 for $5 at my local grocer's market.
Yeah, because they're trying to get rid of them.
Well, Dice is trying to get rid of this announcement. That's a terrible segue. If I had Cherry Bing, none of this would be happening. We'd be okay. We learned via the official Twitter page for Battlefield last week that a Battlefield reveal is set for June 9th. And this was accompanied by a little glitchy video teaser thing that, I don't know. Not that I know anything, but it seems like they're leaning into let's do a modern shooter again.
That is the correct consensus there. It very much looks like the imagery, but in a more bluish hue to like the 3 and 4 kind of backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah.
Even the instruments, like the way the music sounded more dubsteppy than it usually does.
Yeah. So that'll be June
exciting.
9th. Of course, EA is still hosting an event, but that'll be in July, I believe July 22nd. But we'll see, I guess, a little bit here at E3 or Game Fest. This whole week is going to be weird. The ESA published its E3 2021 schedule. Starting June 12th, we get Ubisoft and Gearbox. Which is weird because Take-Two also has a show on June 14th, so why not just put Gearbox there? But June 13th, this is going to be the good one, I think. We get Microsoft with Bethesda, Square Enix, Warner Brothers, and the PC Gaming Show that evening. Followed by June 14th, we get Take-Two and a Capcom presentation. And June 15th, Nintendo, followed by Bandai Namco. That is, of course, competing with one Mr. Keeley's June 10th kickoff. Followed by, it's not necessarily tied to publishers in every instance, but you get, there's a Netflix Geeked, which is shows and films based on your favorite games. That'll be June 11th. Koch Media, that's right, Matt, part of the Embracer Group themselves, showing up on June 11th. He'll also be looking at the Ubisoft Forward thing. He's got Devolver Digital outlined here. He's also got Xbox, Square, and Back 4 Blood Showcase on June 16th. So after E3 has ended, you get the Steam Next Fest. This is going to be all the demos and everything again. And then on June 23rd, Jeff Keighley hosts, not really, but some part of Summer Game Fest is that Sonic Symphony Orchestra. Of course, he's going to continue to do a little bit more after that as well. But we learned this week specifically that Nintendo is going to have a Nintendo Direct presentation scheduled on June 15th for 12 o'clock p.m. with roughly 40 minutes of new content focused on software mostly releasing in 2021. Then Nintendo Treehouse Live will host 3 hours of gameplay after the conclusion of the Direct. They very specifically worded exclusively software. I guess they too have the internet and can see that everyone is wondering where this new Switch is. My favorite thing about this is when you have these people, and whatever, man, like sources are what sources are, but people that like swear this is going to happen, a specific date. So you had all these people like, June 4th, man, that's the day. It's going to happen. Didn't happen. This week, it's going to happen. Didn't happen. So I don't know. Maybe this week it'll happen. Maybe today. Maybe right now. Nintendo is unveiling the Switch Advance 2. But I doubt it. The ESA also announced that it's going to take another run at Mr. Keighley with the E3 awards. This is weird to me. So E3 always did awards. They would do kind of, there was like, they'd work, and just the same thing again. They're working with IGN, PC Gamer, GameSpot, and Games Radar to grant awards to, games of the show kind of thing.
Wasn't it called Judges Week beforehand?
Judges Week was kind of like their preview thing. And then typically I think the way it would work is like the representatives from specific outlets would go out to play things during a Judges Week. They would go back and say, hey, my fellow IGN people, I think this game looks good. We should take a look at this, and we should make sure we're covering this as much as we can because it seems like it's going to be a big deal. Then at the actual show, they go and they tour and they do whatever, and they go around and they put little stamps up and award a game of the show. But typically, like, that stuff just gets kind of, usually the way you see that is like, I don't know, Balan Wonderworld pops up and it just says, hey, we were IGN's game of the show 2020 and whatever. This time they're actually doing a proper awards ceremony that'll be live streamed. So
that's weird.
That'll be June 15th.
Who's got the best vertical slice?
Yeah. All of that's coming up, but of course that's not the real stuff that's happening at E3. And in fact, listeners, we have the real stuff that's happening at E3. Not only do we have 15 hot news items that we're about to unveil for you right now, we also have 3 Smash Brothers characters that will be in Super Smash Brothers this year.
2.5.
Yeah. Of course, this is our annual E3 predictions show. We're going to run around in a circle here. We'll each share 5 predictions. We'll each share the Smash character that's definitely getting in. And then, we'll do some fun cleanup, whatever. How do we want to do? Me to go first? Mark, why don't you go first? Hit me with number 1.
All right. I'm going to need some audience participation with this one.
All right.
Hey,
I can.
this is exciting.
Shaking it up. Joe, give me a double-digit number.
26.
Okay. And Matt, give me a single-digit number.
5.
The word gamers will be said a total of 21 times throughout the entirety of Summer Games Fest /E3.
I love that a lot. You got to write these down because I'm not. But I want to.
Oh, it's all. I got it.
All right. Good. Matt, number 1.
All right. So I got some fun facts. I got a series of fun facts for you all. Lead into my predictions. So, fun fact number 1: Final Fantasy IX and The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask nearly came out together in the year 2000, just separated by a month in the NA, North America, of course. This year, they come out on the same day on the Nintendo Switch Advance as launch titles. Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming to the Nintendo Switch in the fall, right alongside Breath of the Wild 2 when the Nintendo Switch Advance comes out.
Wow. 7 Remake on the Switch, huh?
I said that a year ago, and it kind of came true.
All right.
Didn't he do that demake thing?
I don't think it's out
or
yet.
No, that was 15. That was Final Fantasy
15. Yeah. All right, I was gonna go a different place for number 1, but I'll slip in there with you, Matt. I too agree that Final Fantasy is gonna spread its wings a little bit this year and get out there to some other platforms. Because we've learned that PlayStation no longer cares about Japanese games, and Xbox is trying to pull that back in. Final Fantasy XIV finally launches on Xbox. The complete package. I think it makes sense. If you go back with interviews with Yoshi P, he said that they couldn't really feasibly put Final Fantasy XIV on Xbox because they charge a subscription fee, and it didn't seem right to put it on Xbox when they had an additional fee to play the game. So maybe if Xbox ever allowed free-to-play games, then they might do it, which obviously that happened, but that's all happened kind of in tandem with Microsoft kind of working more with Square and working more with Japanese developers to try and get, or Japanese publishers really, to get a big Japanese push onto the console. I think we saw Yakuza 7 do great. We've seen that whole Final Fantasy collaboration on Game Pass do really well. I think Final Fantasy 14 on Xbox makes a ton of sense right now. Also Phantasy Star. Like, all that stuff's hot and ready. Little Caesar style. Pizza. Mark, number 2.
Jeff will reveal himself as a Muppet at some point.
Oh my God. I can see it too. Like, that's the problem.
He loves him, man.
I could. What color shirt will the Muppet have?
I was gonna say blue, but then maybe he will actually be blue. So probably like a neutral color, like gray shirt or something.
Fair.
Blazer.
Fair. Matt, number 2.
Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. Fun fact. Deus Ex Mankind Divided was the first ever game I talked about live on air on the episode That's Tomorrow, number 166, I believe. Oh, I forgot to write down the episode. I believe it was 166. The episode released in October 6, 2016. That was the sequel, of course, to the reboot Human Revolution, and I think we get a glimpse of the trilogy with the new Deus Ex game being revealed as Eidos Montreal's new project.
And is that also coming out on October 6th, 2021, 5 years after your debut?
Who knows? It's foggy. I can't say the release.
Okay, yeah. But
I got.
Yeah, Eidos needs a win, man. I know that there's a different Eidos game that Mark's dreaming of, but you know. Number 2 for me. We're doing a Theater Rhythm collection for the Nintendo Switch. I don't know if you guys heard about that. It might come to other platforms, I'm not sure, but we're at least going to start with Switch. The developers of Theater Rhythm made that bad Kingdom Hearts Melody, I don't know, Melody Mal, whatever, last year. But they're going to bring it back and do a full Theater Rhythm sequel on the Switch. This time around, we're going to add music from other Square titles like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Nier Automata. They're good games. You guys should get a copy of Theater Rhythm if you don't have it already. Mark, number 3.
Street Fighter 6 gets announced. It uses the RE engine. Setting takes place after Street Fighter 3 chronologically. And Ken doesn't look hideous for once.
Ah. How many Ryus are in it?
3.
Okay. At launch, right?
Yeah. One of them is a pre-order, but
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Matt, number 3.
All right. Fun fact. There have been 4 Far Cry games since August 20th, 2013. That date is important because that was the date of release of the last Splinter Cell game. There is no way a 5th Far Cry game comes out before a new Splinter Cell game is announced.
When's that new Far Cry
Of course,
out?
Ubisoft forward. This fall.
Okay.
I forget the date, but yeah.
Speaking of this fall, Injustice 3 Dimensions. I gave it a subtitle because why not? We're going to kick off. We're going to see the return of Batgirl. She was only DLC in the first game, but she's coming back to be one of the main characters in the story this time around. Joined by Beast Boy, brand new playable character here in Injustice 3. For those who pre-order, you're going to get a Michael Keaton skin for your Batman. Sadly, the roster is going to add the Batman Who Laughs, but they make up for it by including Detective Chimp.
Was not expecting the chimp.
Detective Chimp's made a big hit in Justice League Dark in the last couple years.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to you, Mark, with number 4.
We get a cinematic tease of Samus, only to be disappointed that it's a Fortnite skin, and the only Metroid reveal to happen.
That's the best prediction I've heard.
Sadly, it's the most realistic.
It is
why
the
it's the
most
best one.
realistic. That's
That's why it's the best one.
I don't want to go on anymore. I don't want to hear the rest of the predictions.
There was some weird, concept art or something where, they were showing, these poorly drawn, silhouettes of characters, but you could tell 2 of them was, Ryu and Chun-Li. And then, there was another character who had big, round shoulders.
Huh, I wonder who. Yeah. Oh, there was also that court document that showed they were going after Kratos and Master Chief and Samus, so...
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to pick you back up here, Joe.
All right, please.
All right, and another fun fact for us. 1998, we got a Survivor horror sandwich throughout the year. RE2 had an original NA release on January 21st. Then his DualShock counterpart, the DualShock version, released later that year on November 11th. Between all that, Parasite Eve released in the NA on September 9th. We will kind of get that sandwich again this year at E3 or throughout the week, whatever we want to call this. We will get a first glimpse of Village DLC. We will get a first glimpse of the Resident Evil 4 remake that is due out next year. And then we're going to be getting the meat of the sandwich because Parasite Eve is being remade.
Man, I hope you're right. I'm worried about that because of the rights to the book and all that crap. But I hope you're right, because I would love another game with that original combat system. It also turns out that some other developers have been busy reviving an old franchise, one that has not seen a game since 2020. Kirby. Getting a new Kirby game. This time not a spin-off, though. It's a real proper adventure in the way of Kirby Star Allies, but another Kirby adventure coming to your Nintendo Switch this fall.
Love it.
Mark, bring us home with number 5.
It's funny because when I was writing these, this was like my one, like the first one I'd always thought of, but I saved it for last. Kind of simple, but Psychonauts 2 shadow drops during Microsoft's presentation.
Nice. There's been a lot of press around that. That's got to be close. I think it's a good prediction. It's a strong one. Matt?
Fun fact. A Hideo Kojima game first saw the Xbox on November 5th, 2002 with the release of Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance. Hideo Kojima will again appear at this Xbox event. He announces that Death Stranding is coming to the Xbox with the Series X optimized or Series X and S optimized version and will be on Game Pass day one. He also announces a new project, ladies and gentlemen. The world needs balance after Bill Gates and Melinda Gates got a divorce. So, Hideo reunites with Konami and re-announces Silent Hills.
Wow. I did not think you were going to go there.
The world needs balance.
Can you pick that thing up off the floor? Matt's in here dropping dong all over the place. Well, take us out on I think I'm going to make the boldest prediction here then. A new high-budget snowboarding video game.
Steep 2?
The what 2?
Steep? The Ubisoft one?
I don't think it'll be that. I don't know what it'll be, but it won't be that. I wanted to say that we're going to get Tony Hawk 3 DLC for last year's Tony Hawk, but I feel like it's too easy. And I'm like, what comes after a successful skateboarding game? And we've had, obviously, Tony Hawk, but also Session, to a lesser extent, that other one that I didn't like, Skater XL. And obviously Skate 4 has finally been announced. We got to have a big snowboard game coming, right? There's got to be something. Maybe a remaster of Tricky, which doesn't seem right because EA is not talking until July, but I feel like we're going to get something. Or at least I hope so.
Maybe after BMX Triple X2.
Hey, there it is. Bring back the smut games, Dude, side note, I think, Mark, you are too, but that Video Game History Foundation monthly magazine subscription thing. So I've been getting a lot of old video game magazines and reading through them. And God, was this... Everything was so sexist and, dumb.
Yeah.
Embarrassingly dumb.
Yeah.
There was an ad for Code Veronica that, probably could have just said, yo, it's a new Resident Evil. But instead it said, full frontal horror. Why did it have to be full frontal horror? What do you mean? What does that even mean? But it's the headline that grabs you. And, all of these, you couldn't turn 3 pages without a reference to Lara Croft and how you want to sleep with her or something. Wild. We've come a long way, kind of, and also not at all. But
man, don't watch the Attitude Era wrestling.
God.
My last magazine was, or maybe not the last one, but one of the last ones I got was a PC magazine from the mid to late 90s, and that was hard to look through. Just the jokes were just so cringy. It was bad. And all the sexist shit in there and whatever.
It's rough. But that was the time, I guess. It is now time for us to unveil what Sakurai is going to reveal at E3, which is the next playable characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the final of the Fighters Pack. Mark, who's Sakurai going to announce next Tuesday?
Well, kind of going off of one of my predictions earlier, how Samus was the only Metroid reveal via Fortnite.
Mm.
But that means Fortnite might get 2 reveals because... No, just kidding. It's Master Chief.
Oh, God, you scared me. Oh, you scared me.
I don't know.
I'm genuinely upset now thinking about...
Sorry. No, I mean, even if it's not Chief, I don't know. Just for some reason, it just feels right to think about at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be a good one. Matt?
Fun fact. Reggie Fils-Aimé, remember him? At the Game Awards. At the Game Awards in 2018, said following the Joker reveal for Smash, this gives a flavor of how we're approaching the DLC. Ellipses. These are going to be characters that are new to the series, just like Joker from Persona 5. New. So we're ruling out another fucking Fire Emblem character. I don't know the series that well, and I'm tired of making guesses for Smash characters and being wrong, so I'm guessing the crossover. And there's a lot of Shin Megami Tensei stuff out now and coming out real soon. So I don't know the series well enough to pick a dude or character, but I think the crossover is with Shin Megami Tensei.
I could see it. Playable Jack.
I was gonna say, is there a Jack Frost Mii costume?
I don't think there is. But that's a really yeah. Because like even the Joker one, like they kind of, but I don't think he fully really brings to life, the Megaten stuff. That's a really good one.
Also, I just thought of it. For Master Chief, one of the stage songs will be the remix from Halo Reach when you do that Easter egg in the club.
Oh, the club one? Yeah, you have to have that. Well, my character is, of course, also from a series filled with music, and because all games have music, but very memorable music to me, and a soundtrack I've been listening to for the last 2 months. The moment that I saw this character's transformation, I knew this was the Smash character. And his name is Emil from the Nier series.
Oh, shit.
I thought about it and I was like, man, they should put 2B in Smash. Then I played Nier and I was like, man, they should put Kaine in Smash. I'm like, you know what? They're never going to do that. It's just, they're never, you couldn't get Mei in the background of Terry's stage. You're not going to get 2B or Mei. But, little skeleton Moonface boy, now we're talking. He's got the rod. He can turn people into stone. You could do all sorts of fun stuff with Emil. Plus, you get all the great music from Nier. You get a fantastic stage. Probably the Northern Plains, right? You're running across the broken bridge.
You go through all these character selections. You just see creepy smile sphere boy.
I'd be so happy if we had Emil in Smash.
Yeah. I like it.
Thank you. Well, there you have it, folks. There's 15 things that are definitely happening in the next week, as well as your new DLC characters for Smash. Did you guys have any predictions that didn't make the cut that you wanted to shout out?
No, not this year.
Not really.
All right, well, let me round up the garbage then. The Final Fantasy XIV on Xbox was my first prediction I made back in March. I was like, this is here. They're going to do this. I know it. But then I started looking through the backwards compatible games and realized that there's a shocking number of video games published or created by Microsoft for the original Xbox that are just not present as backwards compatible titles. One of them being the original Halo. We're in a weird spot because they have the Master Chief Collection, so you don't really need the original Halo, but it is the 20th anniversary of both Xbox and Halo. So I felt like they would maybe put a 20th anniversary version up, free for all Xbox owners. You get to play the original game, and it's an original whatever with original multiplayer, period. And obviously, Infinite's there and Game Pass is there. But that one didn't seem like a strong one to lead with. I did say Street Fighter 6 would be announced at Microsoft's press conference. The return of Nintendogs. Captain Toad 2. Ring Fit Adventure 2.
Well,
This one, I didn't really know what, obviously, because I'm not inside. But I felt like, and I still feel this way, I think we're going to get a brand new thing from Nintendo. Like a brand new character, new game. Like there's going to be something that we hadn't, not a sequel. I think we're going to get ports of all those Quake games. I genuinely think that one. These last three are kind of like swinging for the fences. Trauma Center makes a return on Switch. That's right. Atlas bringing it home. And then I did a little bit of Matt research, coincidentally enough, but I was digging in like, what are we up on the 20th anniversary of? And this was not quite the 20th, but The Simpsons Hit and Run. Let's remaster it, slap it back out there for a modern era. And then
talk about that.
Max Payne 4. It's time. Rockstar's not doing anything else, right?
That's bold.
Hit it, man. Hit it.
Oh, you know what? I can't believe I didn't think about Alan Wake 2. I mean, I know it's happening, but like,
Yeah.
not to make a prediction about it. I don't know.
So that was pretty fun.
Do you? Here's a fun one for you. Bethesda won't say the word Quake. Do you think the Xbox team would?
Yeah.
Sorry,
I think
Quake
they will.
Champions.
Oh, Quake Champions? No one's ever going to say that. I
will
did
say
for a
Quake.
moment consider putting Quake Champions Xbox release, but I don't know.
I did have written down jokingly for a second. The Warner Brothers developers find out on stage who goes where.
I still don't think they know.
I don't think they know either.
Well, PlayStation's not going to be at E3, so I guess to get ahead of it, head of PlayStation Studios, Herman Hulst, spoke with the official PlayStation blog this week in a series of questions and answers. There's a podcast version of this and a written version that's a little bit truncated. I pulled some bullet points out that we can talk about. Herman Hulst says that single-player narrative-driven games are the DNA of PlayStation Studios. Would you object?
I agree.
He says that they consider all partnerships, both with studios that they own and collaborations like Haven and Kojima Productions, as PlayStation Studios, and treat the projects with equal importance. He says that just before stating that PlayStation Studios, and of course I assume he means and those partnerships, now have 25 titles in development for PlayStation 4 and PS5. More than half of those are new IP. He follows and says Bend Studio is working on a very exciting new IP that they're very, very passionate about. They're building on the deep open world systems that they've developed with Days Gone. This, of course, follows the reports from a few weeks back that the Sony Bend had been working as a support studio for Naughty Dog before the departure of a bunch of studio founders because they kind of saw the writing on the wall that they were going to get lumped in as support studio until we learned through that report, it was Jason Schreier, right? Bloomberg report, that they had received their independence and are working on their own thing. Performance capture is essential to the games the company wants to make, and it has been the most difficult aspect of development over the last year. Both God of War and Horizon Forbidden West are heavy in reliance on performance capture. Horizon is still set for this holiday, with God of War being pushed to next year. When asked about supporting PlayStation 4s, Hulst says, you can't build a community of over 110 million PlayStation 4 owners and then just walk away from it, right? Where it makes sense to develop a title for both PS4 and PS5, for Horizon Forbidden West, the next God of War, Gran Turismo 7, we'll continue looking at that. Interestingly enough, we didn't know before today that Gran Turismo 7 was going to be a PlayStation 4 title. But it seems like we're pivoting a bit from the belief in generations.
I forgot what outlet reported on it, or if Herman said it here.
Yeah.
But Forbidden West and God of War we knew about, and that was kind of the intention going into development, was their cross generation. But GT7, that decision was made in development.
Right, recently.
More recently, yeah.
Yeah, that came out of Video Games Chronicle, and I don't know.
Right, that's yeah.
Why do you think that is, Matt? Why do you think that they pivot and pivot the messaging as well?
I don't know. I would imagine they want to get this into as many hands as possible, and maybe they're seeing the restrictions of getting a PS5 due to the. It could also be a controlled thing, but I do think that what's that, the capacitor shortage that every electronics hardware is dealing with or whatever. Maybe they're seeing that, and just it's easier to get GT7 and get better sales off of everything. Get it to a wider audience, because there's not going to be enough PS5s in the wild for it to be successful with the amount of money they put into the project.
Do you worry that this is going to restrict the types of games you'll be able to play? Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we heard that whole pitch from Mark Cerny about the new console and how it was going to change how developers could develop things. And we obviously saw things like Miles Morales taking advantage of the new console with, little to no load times and being able to zip around the city. But yeah, a lot of those things may still need to be developed with the PS4 in mind. They also talked about plans for PC releases. Those are still continuing. No mention of that Uncharted 4 that we heard from last week. But sorry, I just realized we didn't do the Game of the Year segment.
I was going to wait to break to bring that up, but that's
fine. I wasn't sure.
Sorry, guys. We'll do that before break. I told you, listeners. I didn't have the cherry big, man. Anyway. Plans for PC releases will still continue, but releases will not occur day and date, as we see on Xbox. Days Gone is cited as releasing 2 years after its original release on a PlayStation platform, the idea being that PlayStation Studios content will launch first and play best on PlayStation consoles. That seems like what they want to do, and I don't think they're going to change that unless they see a reason to otherwise. They don't have an interest in PC the way that Microsoft as a corporation does with Windows, so I get that. I also feel like they could still leverage the PlayStation Now app as a way to get those games out there to other players, but who am I, right?
I almost wish they would release GT7 with a PC port instead of PS4.
Yeah. At
the same time, if they were worried about install base and things like that. That way I wouldn't worry about, because even if you're trying not to think about it, it's going to be back in the back of your head playing this game. Like, all right, well, where were the limitations at?
Yeah. Yeah, what happened?
Because I played Miles Morales like that. I was looking. I mean, not that I expected that to be a grand AAA experience or whatever, but I was like, what systems couldn't they put into this game? Because it's cross-gen.
Yeah. Or did you feel that way when you were playing Demon's Souls?
No, I didn't think about it. If anything, I was like, this is badass. Like, it took full advantage of DualSense, and it looked great. I mean, that's probably still one of the better looking, if not the best looking PS5 game I've seen.
Then, yeah, I mean, this is, having that experience definitely lends a little bit to this, idea that I don't know what they were doing initially with, like, let's create a new generation. Like, okay, do it. But I don't know, maybe they're seeing.
Yeah, then I don't know. Then it just makes no sense that next week Ratchet and Clank comes out and it's a PS5 exclusive. Like that, if any of those games, it should be cross generation. I feel like that one has like a mascot character. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He was then asked about PlayStation's, the idea of Japanese games being important to PlayStation came up. And he says, Japanese games and Japanese talent remain extremely important to PlayStation Studios and to Sony Interactive Entertainment. I remember watching the PlayStation 5 showcase event from last year. It struck me how much Japanese influence there was in the games that we showed. Polyphony Digital is such an important part of the PlayStation family. We're building Team Asobi in Tokyo, developing a franchise for all ages with global appeal. Those were kind of all the hits on Japanese games. So the piece that stuck out to me struck him how much Japanese influence there was in the games that we showed. Mark, do you remember how many Japanese games there were at the PlayStation 5 debut?
Not off the top of my head.
I think a 2, but it's technically 1.5 because isn't Blue Point American?
So I was thinking Project Athia,
right? Okay.
And Final Fantasy 16.
That was my second one.
And I mean, Demon Souls, yes, but like you said, it's technically not. I guess Polyphony, right? But like Polyphony, of course they're there. But I don't know. It seemed concerning
That's
to
not
me.
Like a Japanese game. That's the car dudes.
Right. And then
like
Team Asobi, they're the ones that made Astrobot, which we know that the success of that is what killed Japan Studio. So I don't know his answer about that. I will say that overall, all of his answers for everything here, it seemed like they made this kind of interview. It seemed like they wanted to make it like, I don't know, like warm and fuzzy Phil Spencer-y style, but I still got like cold Jim Ryan. Am I wrong in that? Did you guys feel that way, or?
It feels like the interrogation room. You got good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Like the bad cop, Jim Ryan. So then when the good cop speaks, you embrace it a little bit more than probably what you should.
But I didn't get that from him. I still got like, no, we love Japanese games. Here's one developer that we're obviously never going to get rid of because they make the one car game that we have. And here's another developer that we just created to make a thing that we packed. You know what I mean? Like, and there's no discount to Team Asobi. The stuff they did's great, but like.
Well, I think I think that's like you trying to play a poker hand with a bad set of cards. Like, right? Like he doesn't have anything you can go off of. So he's just making the best light possible. I mean, I look at you can't build a community you can't build a community over 110 million PS4 owners and then just walk away from it, right? That directly contradicts Jim Ryan from months ago. So I don't know. Right. I think he's just trying to spin a good light on the hand that he's dealt with.
Yeah, trying to play cleanup. Phil Spencer to Don Matrick.
Yeah, a little bit. But the problem is Jim Ryan's going to be around.
Yeah, that's true. Is Zynga hiring? Maybe he can go there.
Does Zynga still exist?
No, I think Don Matrick ran them into the ground too. Anyway, so that was kind of interesting. I'm curious to see how PlayStation continues. Where's the Vita 2? What are we doing? When is a black PS5 coming out? You know what I mean? These are the important questions I have.
Oh, I got that controller coming. Thanks for reminding me.
You're welcome. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade releases on PlayStation 5 in a couple weeks. No,
it's like next week. Yeah.
The 10th. And to get ahead of it, Square Enix has released version 1.02 for Final Fantasy VII Remake on your PlayStation 4, which adds the ability to upload the PlayStation 4 version of your save file in preparation for the release. So what you have to do, stay with me. You need to install the patch. You then need to... So, you need to still have your PS4, and if you don't, on your PS5, you have to download the PS4 version and download your save, install the patch, go into the menu, create save data for the PlayStation. Oh, like, what is this, dude? This is a nightmare.
This is the easiest thing you could ever do.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely that.
All I have to do is just go to my PlayStation. You know, it just so happened like 2 weeks ago, I deleted Final Fantasy VII to make room for something. I think it was Village. So I just have to go re-download it. Probably have to delete a game to make that happen because my storage is full. But like, so all I gotta do is just do a little cleanup, install the game, wait for it, and then make sure it patches there, boot into it, have a good time loading in again, reliving all the memories that I had from a year ago. Yeah. And then I just hit the upload button, I don't know where that upload button's going to be. I hope it's somewhere easy to find. But, I'll dig through the menu. It's fun digging through menus for these things, right? So, yeah, you just dig through the menus, have a good time, hit the upload button, and then just patiently wait for Intergrade when you have to download that game again. But you have to make room probably because the file size are bigger because it's 4K assets. So we'll probably have to delete something else in addition to Final Fantasy VII for the PS4 version. I don't know about you. That sounds like a great time.
Dude,
smart
copying
delivery
alone is my favorite thing.
The what?
Copying after downloading or installing.
Yeah.
That's my favorite time, to just sit there and contemplate what I want to do without a gun.
It's funny. I've been seeing a lot of threads on different forums that I hang out on. People asking the questions about, like, have you jumped to next gen? When are you jumping to next gen? Have you given up on next gen? And I mean, I happened into the Series X. It was like kind of right time, whatever. But had I not done that, like, I don't think I would have. I was not like chasing either of these boxes. I'm happy that I got the one that I got because it looks great, plays great, etc. But like, I'm still like stuff like this. I'm like, ugh, why? Figure it out, and then I'll show up because I don't care.
I just don't understand because like when I was going to play that one time, like the cloud save stuff worked fine because when I set up the PlayStation 5, I did it fresh. I didn't bring over anything, so like I just went to my cloud save, brought it down. And it worked fine. Like, I just don't understand why I just can't do that.
Yeah, it's very strange. Very strange.
Like, why can't... I don't know. I just... Especially this isn't exclusive. That's the part that kills me. Like, with this being an exclusive right now, why can't Square's servers talk to PlayStation servers for this? I don't know.
But it's not on Square either, right? Because this is what happened with Spider-Man.
Oh no, I'm not. No. I'm not, sorry, I'm not blaming Square. I'm just saying.
No. I know. But this is an ongoing problem that I don't know why they. Yeah,
the Marvel's Avengers, which also happens to be a Square game.
True.
Just saying.
Yeah. Well, and technically, Cloud's a superhero, so in all three cases, we've got superhero games. So maybe it's just.
I mean, if the materia fits.
Hey. How does the materia fit in Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, Mark?
Not at all. No. It's fine. I mean, I didn't get to play like too much of it, but that's when I realized, because I we all know here, I neglect my PS4, and rightfully so. But I decided to, give it a little attention here and there. And went to update everything that I don't play and watch that go forever, watch everything install, and watch everything copy. That takes way longer than the installing for some reason.
Yeah.
And then finally got to Virtua Fighter. But that was actually not bad. That one was actually kind of quick. I didn't do too much with it. I went into the settings and messed with the character creation or customization, I should say. Can't really create a character. But immediately I was comparing it to Tekken 7, because the way you can customize a fighter in that, it's wacky, and a lot of it you have to pay for. You have to get in-game currency to unlock or level up your character through another fighting mode, or you're leveling up your own personal account, I guess, and you have to buy stuff that way. But Virtua Fighter is just there from the start. And it's all organized with each little you have this little it's just one screen, but then there's a little bunch of boxes within that one screen, all labeling different parts that you can swap hairstyles or facial features or shirts, pants, shoes, wristwear. They all have their own things right there. Boop, little menu, boop, do that. And it's and none of it costs anything in Virtua Fighter. It's all right there, free. You have all your options. It's limited, but I just thought that was so convenient and just so nice and clean. It was just, didn't seem messy. It didn't seem like a struggle to try to play the game more to get these little cosmetic things. Because usually that type of stuff with me, the ends don't justify the means.
Yeah, it always turns me off. It's. I think what's cool is when you get them by surprise, but when you know they're there and you have to just grind for them, that sucks. But,
just to get like a hat.
Right. And you're like, well, I kind of want that hat. Oh, well, I have to do this thing 1,000 hours and maybe I'll get,
And like, especially with Tekken, that whole mode, a lot of it, when you defeat an enemy, like, the items are random.
Right. Yeah, you can't, like,
so
open a chest and select.
Okay, I get it. So that was really nice. So it felt like a breath of fresh air. It was just Virtua Fighter doesn't seem like it has a lot of fat attached to it. It knows what it is. It's a simple fighting game, simple customization, and go in. And I love that. Very arcade approach, as it should be. And I did maybe a round or two. I play as Jackie because I just always liked him, and he seems to be like the Jeet Kune Do character of the fighting. You need one with every fighting game. So I'm guessing he's like easy to learn. I don't really know the controls, but we have a block button. I'm always not used to that in any video game. Where square was to block.
It's a dedicated face button for block, which is super weird.
Yeah, I don't mind it, I guess, but at the same time, it throws me off because I'm such a Street Fighter brain. So
yeah, but I did that. I played not this version, but I went back to the 360 version in the last week and played around it, and I kept hitting back to block, and I'm just stepping backwards and getting hit, and yeah.
And the triangle and X are both punches, but I don't know if there's a difference between the two. One doesn't seem like it's different from the other, strong or heavy or light.
They're the same. When I looked in the menu, I think this is a 2-button fighter. There's a punch and a kick and a block.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Combine the buttons and do whatever, but yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and the shoulder buttons might be combinations of moves or something. Because the circles kick, and then the direction that you're moving obviously dictates what kind of punch and kick you're doing. So yeah, it seems like it feels easy to jump into if you don't have much of a background with fighting games. It seems approachable from the little time that I played. I mean, I played Virtua Fighter before, but just forgetting everything and then just having 3 buttons, I think that really helps out a lot. It doesn't feel too overwhelming for people trying to learn anything, especially for combos and whatnot. I mean, maybe it could be later down the line, but at least for just dipping your toes, I think it's pretty good. I did get the DLC which is everybody looks like they're old, polygonal, low poly costumes or whatever.
Like VF1 style or VF2?
VF1, I think. Nice. 1 or 2, yeah. I think it's
That's
1.
Cool.
But I didn't know how to equip it. I didn't know how to use it. I don't know if it fully installed when I got it or not. And then I was thinking, why is this only a PlayStation thing? That kind of bummed me out, as I was hoping to play this on PC or something. But I'm guessing maybe in Japan, PlayStation is the top, aside from Switch, maybe PlayStation's the top console that is to play fighting games on, I guess.
Yeah, but also I think the fact that they launched on PlayStation Plus probably helps them to want to stay there. I think this comes to other platforms. But I think this was a project done by a smaller team. This was, or, you know what I mean? I think they were testing the waters for, do people care about Virtua Fighter? Oh, they do. You know what I mean? They'll look at the numbers of PS4, gauge interest, potentially port it to PS5, Xbox, Switch. There's no reason why it can't run on those things. Maybe
Very
Switch
true.
might be tough, but yeah, I think that they will. And
seeing, comparing side by side, how Virtua Fighter 5 used to look to what it looks now, I think is impressive. Making it a free game to play is also really good, because last time I heard about Virtua Fighter, it was a mess to try to look it up because it was crossed over with Dead or Alive. And if you try to go to an online store and search for any of this, you get hit with all this DLC, because I think that one was a free-to-play game, and you had to buy each character.
Yeah. The DOA games do a weird thing where they launch paid and then put out a whatever version, and it's free with 2 characters, and you have to pay for each. Yeah.
So like all you could see, like you had to sift through like all these costumes and like of like each fighter, and it wasn't really organized. And like I guess you could do it through the game, maybe it's a little easier, but just the online stores in general, especially like Xbox or PlayStation, it was just a mess to try to like go through all that. And it's like you don't really think about Virtua Fighter at that point. That was the last time I really saw anything from them. So I think this was a nice like soft reboot to get everyone's attention again. Like, hey, this is more streamlined, more condensed, simple. Boom, just us. It just feels convenient. So, and I want, obviously wanted them to know that, yeah, I care. It's worth, investing into. Do more with it, please.
Yeah.
So I want to spend more time with it.
If Virtua Fighter's not your bag, and King of Fighters is, sad news. King of Fighters 15 has been delayed to 2022. The team at SNK announced the development timeline we set out to reach in the beginning has been affected by the ever still rising cases of COVID-19 within Japan. We've made the ultimate decision in the end that the product's quality must come first, and so with that decision comes an altered release window. Yeah. Q1 2022 instead of it was, I think, due out at some point soonish, but pushed back. This game looks cool. And I'm excited for KOF 15. 13 hit Games with Gold like 2 months ago, so I've been dabbling with that here and there. I didn't play 14, but, new fighting games are always fun, man. This Virtua Fighter stuff, King of Fighters, it's all fun.
Agreed.
Well, I think we should circle back to our Game of the Year real quick before we move to our break. At the top of every show for the next little while, we are talking about our Game of the Year conversations. This week, we are ranking Celeste among our Game of the Years. So I guess, what does Celeste mean to you?
I remember, Celeste is one of those games that's kind of up my alley in a way where it's challenging and punishing, but is quick to get you back into the game. I think one of my favorite things about this game is the platforming, but you platform and you navigate these levels and enemies and stuff and not have any weapons, so it kind of becomes more of a runaway, chase, or dodge kind of thing. But mostly the level design is just you trying to make hard jump to hard jump. But I think there's a lot of games that do that, but I think the twist of, not the twist, but like the direction of how to deal with anxiety and depression and that story along the way and overcoming all those things, I think that was the touch on this game that made it so impactful and so good and worthy of putting it into our top 5 that year, specifically at 3. So yeah, I think the combination of the two made for an outstanding game.
For me, it's very convenient. It's really easy to get to. It's cost effective. I think it's about like maybe like $1 or $2. You microwave in 2 minutes. 4 cheese was my favorite, but I think zesty 4 cheese is probably my favorite flavor. Really good pizzas.
Well, if you wait long enough too, you can usually score a 10 for 10 deal.
Yeah, dude. But that only lasts you like maybe 2 days tops.
Yeah, no.
No. No, Celeste, the game. It's I didn't play like too much of it, honestly, but like from what I did play, that is it is tough. But I think it's also fair with it. Like I love I love how it can keep you on your toes, but it doesn't like brutally punish you either for the toughness that it is, like, because like the checkpoint system, right? Like that isn't, from what I remember, that's not too bad, isn't it? Like just like that screen, or does it take you back to the beginning every time?
No, it was pretty fair. It was typically that screen or like a section of that screen that you'd get returned to if you died, and you died a lot.
Yeah, and there'd always be like a little like detail or like some like hidden little off area you could explore if you wanted to. It was like a kind of a high risk in a way, but
yeah,
wasn't that how you had to find like all the strawberries and whatnot?
Yeah,
cassette tapes. I forget what you were trying to collect, but
I think strawberries were one of them. But yeah, the tapes were another one.
It reminds me of those. What was it? 1001 Spikes. Have you played that?
Yeah.
It's like very along the lines of like that, where it's just like, yeah, it's a tough platformer, but because of its mechanics and whatnot, and just that atmosphere, I thought was really, really intriguing. It stands out, very distinctive to me. Not many games like that, or it really hits that vibe at the same time, especially with like a platformer. So that's kind of new to me, but yeah, respect it.
Yeah, and I liked the characters that they had. Like each character, I felt like they were genuine people in a way. And to Matt's point, like the coupling the gameplay with a theme that left the game, right? Like that stuff was cool. And for a while, I remember there's the scene in the game where the Theo teaches you how to, blow on the feather to calm yourself back down. And like for a bit, I would go back to that, and just like if I ever needed a minute, I'd be like, let me just imagine the feather floating up and down. You know what I mean? Like that kind of really worked when I needed it to. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that game. That was a game though that like once I was done with the main bit, I was like, I need a break, because that Super Meat Boy, like any of those, are just like so punishing that like you just beat yourself against it for a while until you get it, and you get it and you feel great that you got it, but it is draining. Which I guess also works, for the other themes it was tying into, is like it can sometimes be hard to do the work, but it's, there's rewards to it in the end, and I thought it was very, very good in that regard.
Yeah, I think we both beat the game, but after the fact, and especially now, I think they've added stuff to it. Not only with the A side, B side like track thing that they did, but
there's a C too.
Yeah, I think they added that. That was like one of the things they did later on. So I feel like I've played like a fourth or a third of this game.
Right, yeah, and then like they put out a sequel to it on Pico 8, and I'm like, nope, I can't even. Not at all. But I loved it, and I will always love that game.
Oh, the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Shout out to the soundtrack.
Yeah, I still will occasionally listen to, I forget the name of the song now, but it's like track 7 or something. Yeah. So is this guy above, I want to put it between Super Smash Brothers Ultimate and Super Mario Odyssey. How do we feel about that? I agree.
Does that mean it's above Smash?
Above Odyssey, below Smash.
Ooh. I mean, I'm the one that didn't really play it much, but from what I played, I'd rather play Odyssey.
I feel like I was equally done with both games after I was done with them. But
I mean, being it below Smash, I'm fine with that.
I definitely enjoyed Celeste more than Odyssey.
I did too. Do we feel like it's a wholly better game?
I mean, this is like an overall thing anyway, right? But
yeah.
So I think it just does more than that. I think it's themes. I think I walked away from Mario and cool, that was a Mario game. This, like, I walked away from it, but like I got something out of it thematically that I usually, I wouldn't understand otherwise, but I could at least start to put myself in the shoes of an individual that suffers from that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all right, that's fair.
I forgot there was that whole element going on.
It kind of does the same thing as Senua's Sacrifice as a way. Like at least Hellblade, not my favorite cup of tea, but at least I left that game with something impactful where I kind of want to go back and complete it for that reason. I think the same thing would have happened with me and Celeste if I had not completed it, but I at least started it.
Yeah,
Odyssey's a great game. You throw your hat, or like the mechanic of throwing the hat and becoming like almost anything. Like that's a wild mechanic that's probably hard to pull off. But at the end of the day, you're just collecting moons.
Well, I remember we talked about Odyssey with like that kind of like imbalance of like the one area being big, open, and whatever, the other area being not like, more tight, and it was like some of the areas felt better than others. Where Celeste, like I think throughout it, even when the areas started to feel like, oh my god. You'd have something that would come in the way of a character or a story beat that would kind of put you back on track and make you feel okay with it.
Yeah, like Mario's always going to have the disadvantage of plot and story and that type of like person connectivity. So I was thinking like just purely gameplay and like on that level, it just feels good to run around as Mario. I don't feel threatened 24/7 that every move has to be perfect and make it count. But
that's fair.
But like to what Matt was saying, like I agree with that. Like having an impact does mean something. Like that is a part that shouldn't be ignored. And because I didn't really play it, I totally wasn't even considering that part. So I think that's a very good point. I think that's valid. And with somebody like me, I think that part matters a lot. So to have that above Mario, I think is totally valid.
All right, so we feel good about Tetris, Doom, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Celeste, and then Super Mario Odyssey right now?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, there you have it, folks. We've got 5 games under the belt, which means next week there's a big surprise coming. Stay tuned for the future of Game of the Year. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we've got a little bit more news to talk about before E3. And a couple more games we've been playing right after this. Nintendo has announced that its Yuji Ogura plant will be renovated to host a gallery set to showcase its products launched throughout its history over the last 132 years. They'd previously used this plant for manufacturing, but it's, I think, sat a little bit dormant, but they haven't done anything with the building. Of course, their original headquarters that kind of just became a landmark in Kyoto recently was just sold and is now a hotel. So this, I guess, to still hold on to a bit of its history, the company plans to turn into an actual physical location where you can go and wander and check out a museum of sorts of Nintendo products. Which seems kind of cool. Like that's my favorite part of that Nintendo New York store is wandering through and seeing all the like things throughout the years, the different DSs and Game Boys, of course the now famous Golf War Game Boy that still functions and plays Tetris on a loop. So this will be pretty cool. They're aiming to open this in the next few years, so like 2023 or past. So get your Japan tickets ready, I suppose. And if you don't feel like flying to Japan for a little bit of video game entertainment in the real world, luckily, the China Animation Cultural Technology Group, or CA Joypolis, potentially might be bringing some of Sega's theme parks to the West. A user on YouTube, Badnik Mechanic, noted that a recent financial report by the CA Cultural Technology Group states plans to open Joypolis venues in more regions, potentially beginning in the UK. Joypolis are a chain of Sega-branded indoor parks that were created by Sega and now owned and operated by CA Joypolis, which this kind of happened last year when we learned that Sega was selling off its like entertainment division. It it would still retain a lot of whatever, and these are still branded with Sega branding. So as long as I can go there and get one of those cool Mega Drive controller desserts, I'll be happy. Long time since Sega, but also no longer at Square anymore. Yuji Naka announced, it was first noted that his social media platforms no longer reflected that he was working at Square Enix. The language had been changed, and also his profile picture, which previously showed him wearing Balan's hat, was changed to just a picture of him. So no Balan anymore. And I guess when he had been asked enough, he finally responded via Twitter. I resigned from Square Enix at the end of April, Naka said in a tweet. While I cannot share the reason right now, I hope to be able to discuss it when the time comes. As for what I'll do in the future, I'm already 55 years old, so I may as well retire. That last bit was so sad sounding, just like, well, you guys hated the thing I made, so I guess I'll just stop. Which I don't know, man. He's done a lot of stuff. Obviously, we know him for Sonic, but I mean, he worked on Phantasy Star before that. He worked on some really cool sports games on Wii. He's had a really cool career. It's a shame that Balan turned out the way that it did. I still want to play it when it's heavily discounted, maybe. Just to like have one of those dumb podcast games or something like that. I found myself, so I marathoned through the end of Nier last week, Nier Replicant, that is. And in the wake of it, I was kind of like, what do I do now? And I jumped into Automata, but it just didn't. Well, okay, I was starting to get into Automata, and then the game froze while it was loading a map, and then I lost a bunch of progress I didn't feel like redoing again. So I was like, what do I do now? And I tried Sonic Unleashed, which was a mistake, and Matt was right, and I will never say this again, but God, that game is not fun at all. I can't. John Carpenter has a different thing that I don't have, apparently. I will go back to it because I spent $7.49 on it, so I will see it through. But
wait, all right, time out. Does Balan Underworld or whatever the fuck it's called have to be above or below that price?
About the same. I think that's. I would say I would pay $10 for Balan.
All right, I don't know how far you got in Sonic, but wait till you have to backtrack.
Yeah, it was already like I got to the point where I was talking. See, I didn't even want to talk about it, dude. I hate this. Is not a fun game at all. The Sonic the Hedgehog stages were pretty fine, but the part where you're wandering through the world and talking to people to find out where the professor has disappeared to, the part we have to play as the werehog, which I thought was going to be awesome, not awesome at all. Like
it's like okay at best, but yeah, overall it's
did not feel good. So I ended up bouncing around a whole bunch, like not really knowing what to do. And I ended up playing Smash Brothers for a while. And I found that Smash Brothers for me is like my video game palate cleanser. Do you guys have a video game palate cleanser?
Kind of.
What's yours?
First thing that comes to mind, Solitaire.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always go back to that, but it has to specifically look like the Windows 95 or like 98 version.
Yeah, the good stuff.
It's like sometimes I'll go to that between I guess between games. And crap, I feel like I had another one. It was just there. Man, I don't know now. But yeah, Solitaire I guess will be my answer. Tetris sometimes too. But
yeah, Tetris is good. Yeah. Matt, you have a default that you go back to when you don't know what else to do?
I guess the sports game of the season.
Yeah.
I don't. I guess the familiarity of it. I don't have to think about it too much because I know they should play.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that's it. I guess once I get so comfortable with them, that's when I started to branch out to do something weird. Because I'm in my comfort zone, so it's time to branch out, kind of thing. I don't have a good correlation besides what's just happening now with Shin Megami Tensei, but and baseball. But
that was where I landed, like I tried everything that I had installed on my Xbox, like just for 4 minutes or more, just like bop, 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 and nothing really hit. And I ended up playing Smash because I had tried a bunch of stuff on Switch also, and I was all over the place. Wii U even, Matt? That's right. But I ended up playing
Sonic
Smash.
Unleashed and Wii U in the same fucking podcast. Are you trying to not have me on next week?
Come on. I give you a lot of credit on that Sonic Unleashed, though. That's a win in your column.
Oh, that's a bold call by me. That's a bolder call than any of the predictions I made earlier.
But Smash was just like, it's easy. You know what I mean? Like, you can just slip right back into it. You can try a couple characters out. You get to a taste for the genre. Or like, not the genre, that's not the right thing, but like playing as different characters, you're kind of like, oh, I could slip into that world again. You know what I mean? I'm playing. I almost bought Dragon Quest 3 because I was like playing as the hero in Smash, and I'm like, maybe I'll do that now. And it's like a lot of that stuff happened, and then I ended up just beating F-Zero on Super Nintendo instead. But I ended up kind of hitting the point where I was like, do I want to buy this? Do I want to buy this? And I was like, you know what? I already bought a bunch of stuff on the Vita a couple months ago, as we were scared that things were going to go away. So I jumped into Parasite Eve 2, and I want Matt's prediction of a new Parasite Eve to come true now more than ever. Because I dabbled a bit with Third Birthday, which is just a third-person action game. And now playing Parasite Eve 2, it's good. It's really good. But it's Resident Evil. It's Silent Hill. It's not Parasite Eve. So if you're looking for another one of those classic style, like, you know, if you love RE2 for PS1, you will love Silent Hill 2. But if you loved Parasite Eve, I can't say the same thing for Parasite Eve 2. Because it's two different things. The combat system in this is real time. It still does the kind of like freeze frame, let's connect in a fight as soon as you kind of cross paths with something, but you are hitting square to target and pulling R1 to shoot. So it's not the like kind of dome based like active time action thing that you kind of had in the first Parasite Eve that was super cool. It's just different. You still have the idea here is that like you beat the first game, the mitochondria disappear, or so you think, and now there's some other weird stuff happening, and you got to go chase it down. Different city, different everything. It's cool. And I'm having fun with it. I love playing on the Vita, but it's not Parasite Eve. It's something else. But Mark, you spent some time with survival horror this week as well. You want to talk a little bit about Dead Space, or maybe even more how you were led to revisit Dead Space, I suppose?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I know this is usually a video game podcast about video games, but every now and then I will throw in a weird curveball, whether it's a virtual pet or maybe even a board game. And yeah, I hung out with some friends the other night, and you know, if you're not too into the board game world, a lot of those are expensive. A lot of them are usually through a Kickstarter, and then they barely ever restock. So like, you have to pay big bucks to even just get your foot in the door. So my friend got this game called Nemesis. It is man, it's like kind of co-op, but not. Like, you're on this spaceship, and like just the whole time, just think Alien. It's basically Alien the movie, but as a board game. But like a little bit more than that. So it was 4 of us. We each picked a role for like to be on the ship. Like, one of us was a pilot, one of us was a captain, one of us was a scientist, and I was a mechanic. And you know, they have their own perks, and they you know, like their own little character trait to them that gives you an advantage throughout the ship. And the mechanic was giving me big Dead Space vibes on how he looked, and it's funny because Isaac Clarke is an engineer, so like, you know, he had like the welding face mask, but it was up. But on the card, it was down, and it had like a little gun, looked like a plasma cutter. And I was like, man, I'm feeling it. Like this is a sci-fi horror game. On the TV, we put on we YouTubed some like ambient sci-fi like spooky vibe like music to like go in the background. And this was like a 4-hour game session or something. It was because we had to learn it and then go through it. And each character has their own like deck of cards, and throughout your turns, you have to always like use a card to do an action, and whether it's an action on the board, you have to use a card to spend it, or you can actually use the action that's on the card itself and do that instead. It's a lot of that, and like we have to like discover rooms on the ship because they're all face down, and once you walk to them, you flip it over and see what room it is, and see if there's anything wrong with it, or what, because like maybe you find a like an airlock room where from there you can shut an airlock down on like any other room throughout the ship, and you could quite possibly kill what's ever in it, put out a fire, or what have you. But maybe it's malfunctioned, so you need to spend some cards to fix it. Well, unless you're a mechanic, you only just need one card instead of like 2 or 3 or whatever, and it doesn't really cost you anything. You can fix it in one turn without spending too much. And throughout all this, every time you're moving, you have to roll dice for a noise check. And like each room is like a octagon, basically, and you usually have like 2 to 3 hallways branching off of them to connect to other rooms throughout the ship. So you have to roll the dice, and depending on the number that are in those hallways, you might have to put down a noise marker. And if every hallway adjacent to that room is filled with noise, you then have a chance of summoning an alien. And there's different types of aliens. They look super cool. They're very not necromorph. They're very xenomorph looking. For the most part, you have all the different stages. You have the little larva baby. You have like the one that basically looks like a xenomorph, except the head is shorter but has 2 tails and spikes coming off the shoulders. There is a queen, and like that, that'll fuck shit up. There is a room on the ship that is a nest. So like a lot of this was going on. Is really cool. It got really. The game is brutal. Like it is very unforgiving. Like every turn that you take throughout the game, like the ship is getting worse. The whole point is to like do your objective that is on your card, and you're not really supposed to share it, but I guess you can if you want. But everyone has their own personal objective, so it's up to you if you want to be cooperative or competitive. Because maybe one person needs to get off the ship, maybe one person needs to sabotage the ship, maybe one person needs to summon a queen. Like just all these things. And as this is happening, like there's a timer going down, like because for each turn, like there's like it's going down to a certain point, and once it reaches a certain point, the ship will go into light speed. And if you're not in a safe spot when that happens, you will die, and everything else will die in this warp speed. There's also a point where if too many rooms are malfunctioned, the ship will just crash and explode, and everyone dies. Or if there's a fire and it's spreading. Once that does too much, you could also die. So there are escape pods on the ship, but you have to go to these specific engine rooms to unlock them and then make it to said pods to leave. But it's not that simple because you have to always do like a noise check and roll dice, make sure you succeed. And if you don't, you're going to summon an alien, and that's going to mess you up because you can't run away from it exactly. You have to fight it. So all this shit is happening. My objective was to find this corpse, and either leave in a pod or go back into the hibernation chamber that we all started out in. So the whole time I'm thinking, all right, Dead Space, Isaac Clarke. He gets onto the aborted ship because he wants to find, I think it's his wife. I don't know if he's married, or his significant other, Nicole. So I was treating this corpse like it's Nicole. So I'm carrying this corpse around the whole time. And I have to send a signal to whoever I'm sending a signal to, and then I have to find a way out. And of course, I make it to the hibernation chamber. That was just my goal the whole time. And I rolled a dice to try to make it in there, and I summoned the queen, of all things. And then it just became a shit show downhill from there. Like, I was able to, get it away. Like I had a flamethrower or something as my weapon, and it eventually like went away and went to go attack other people. So I then I was safe. So I'm just in my hibernation lock the whole time. Everybody else is dying and it's just shit's hitting the fan. It was really fun, but I was the only one that made it out. So I guess I won the game. But yeah, that was really fun. Really good game. Nemesis, if you're into that sci-fi horror stuff, I recommend that game a lot. It's really fun.
Did you, I noticed on their site there's 3 expansions for it. Did you play any of the expansions?
No, I've heard about them. I know one like takes place on Mars, just like a station, and that has its own characters you can play as, which seemed kind of cool because one was like a prisoner, and he's just all about like backstabbing people and being like shitty. And then there's another character that's like a bounty hunter that comes with like a dog. But I think the bounty hunter has a key for the prisoner if he wants to unshackle himself. So you might have to like work with that person, which could be interesting. But no, we want to. And there are actually necromorph-like alien creatures as well, I think, with one of those DLC things where they kind of act like that, where like, I think they can like kill you and like take you over and stuff like that. So it's cool with the alien stuff because like, you can get infected. Like you can get like a chest burster like situation, or if you have slime from an alien that can attract more aliens to you, or like even a queen or something. And I think they're working on a video game adaptation as well for this. I don't think it's going to play like the board game. I think it's going to be more like a first person type thing. That's all I know about that. But yeah, like this was like, I forgot how much I loved sci-fi horror. And that wanted me to play Dead Space the entire time. So I was role-playing as Isaac, but I was playing Nemesis, and then went back into Dead Space after all these years. And
brought it all the way forward. Did you play through all the Dead Space stuff?
I beat 1. I beat 2. It's been a while since I played 2. Like, I think I played 1 a couple times more than jumping back into 2, because I always want to, like, go in that order.
Yeah.
I never touched 3. Like, I know there's not good things I've heard about it, but I still want to play it. Like, I played Resident Evil 6.
Well, I think after Nemesis, probably that makes even more sense to play 3 with the co-op stuff, you know?
Yeah, like, I'm real curious about that stuff and if it's how it works and whatever. Excuse me. But, yeah, running Dead Space now on my PC, still feels great. Still feels good to play. The controls are, you know, obviously a little different than other games. You know, like how you reload and how you interact with stuff. But
yeah,
I
but it still
like
works
that.
really well. From like I played it about a year ago on Xbox, and it still was like, yeah. This holds up.
And you know, that was the era where like everything needed to be Resident Evil 4. You know, like that game just like did so well. So like, but I love that they found their own spin to it. And then it got really bitter that Visceral got eviscerated. And but hey, silver lining. Close to Protocol. I watched that cinematic teaser again, and I'm ready for it.
It's getting there.
So ready for it.
Speaking of things you can watch, the official Super Mario Brothers the movie from 1993 has received an extended rough cut called the Morton Jankel Cut. This restores 20 minutes of additional scenes that were otherwise deleted. And then they've kind of redone the editing throughout the movie. This is restored by filmmaker Garrett Gilchrist, who's well known for his restoration of The Thief and the Cobbler, as well as many other Muppet projects. It uses the VHS sources for most of the film for consistency. Otherwise, identical edits are sourced from DVD and Blu-ray. So you can watch it now on archive.org. There's links out there to it. It's an interesting project to go back to, I suppose. Have you guys ever seen it? And Matt's already not even let me finish the question. He's just a hard shake no. It's like, no, man, I gotta go play Sonic Unleashed. Mark, have you seen? Will you watch this?
So I was watching it when I did share it. I didn't finish this version, but from what I'm seeing, like it does a pretty good job of tying stuff together, like all different types of footage. Like you can tell, like, you know, like if it's like a deleted scene or something, you can see like the counter at the bottom from when they were filming it, and like there's no soundtrack in the background. It's just like them talking, so it's very quiet and like abrupt. But it's seamless with like the rest of the scenes, and like it doesn't feel out of place. It's not a different camera angle. Like it just picks it right up where it was cut off or whatever. So like there's a lot of blemishes with watching it, but at the same time, I think it definitely does add more to this movie. Like if you don't view it as a Mario movie, you got to view it as like as just a like cyberpunk, like dystopian, like kind of movie, like a low grade Blade Runner kind of movie. You have to like with a bunch of cheese on top, like, and like it becomes more interesting the more you watch it. Like it's such like a campy thing. Like you have to be in that mindset to enjoy something very just like campy.
I've never seen it outside of like clips, so I'm curious to watch.
You never
it.
like even like when it first came out.
No, even when I was a kid, like I remember like it maybe come on, and I just wasn't really super interested. It looked weird,
right? I mean, like
weird because we were like weird, but,
we were like 4 or 5 years old, like when this came out.
Yeah.
So, but I remember like the heavy marketing for it at 7-Eleven. And, and like being excited that because all we had was like 3 NES games, maybe a Super Nintendo game at this point.
At that point we only had 4. We started to get some spin-offs, and Mario was showing up in other things, but
and then like you see this, and it's just like, what is this? Like nothing about this till like the very end was probably the most Mario thing. So like the rest of the movie, you're just like, I don't know what I'm watching.
Right.
There's some real like suggestive themes going on. This doesn't seem like it was made for kids. It was just all over the place. But now, like, just going back to it, it's a wacky ride, man. It's definitely something you could probably make a drinking game out of or something. I don't know. If you just want to turn your brain off for like an hour or two, I recommend it.
What's the game? Drink every time you want to turn the movie off and stop watching it?
Or just like every time you hear like trust a fungus, or every time Mario says Luigi or something. I don't know. Like just seeing Bob Hoskins just like yell at everything is so good.
Yes.
Not every... you just talked about Resident Evil 4 impacting video games. We don't need a Snyder cut every movie now.
No, man.
No, but like...
Let's do it.
But like this has been like an ongoing... Even before Snyder, like there's been like a project with this like underground for like a good while. Like there's a whole dedicated like Twitter page to it. It's insane. Like the behind the scenes of this movie I think is more fascinating than the movie itself.
Yeah.
But that was at a time where Nintendo was like,
right,
we don't want anything to do with it. You guys can do all the control. But now they're like, no, we have all the control. Don't touch anything.
But I think that movie's why they had to take it all back. We're going to get an update tomorrow at noon on the Playdate, the upcoming handheld console with a crank on the side. The manufacturers announced not only an update video that's going to go live at noon. They said that pre-orders are not going to start immediately after the video, thankfully. And they announced that the final price is $179. The internal storage is now doubled to 4 gigabytes. And the number of Season 1 games will be 24. So by buying one, you get 24 games for free with the Playdate. So more on all of that tomorrow at noon. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know that I'm going to buy... I don't know, man. I kind of want one, but also... I don't know. They seem neat, though.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah. And then finally this week, Game Pass is getting a couple of updates. We're getting Wild at Heart for cloud. For Honor is coming to cloud and console. Darkest Dungeon coming to cloud, console, and PC. And Backbone, a.k.a. write your fingers up on the board, TM style, coming to PC Game Pass. That Darkest Dungeon, though, that's kind of like right on time. Like, I needed something to play on my phone. I'll tell you what, though, man. I don't know what's going on, but have you guys tried the cloud stuff on your phone recently?
I actually have yet to try it.
I need a good game to... Maybe Darkest Dungeon will be the one, but like I tried playing Nier, and it's just like... There's enough stutter in like your input and the character moving that it's not a fluid experience right now. So
Darkest Dungeon, is that console and PC?
I think it's all three.
So I'm curious to see with the touch controls if they'll let you do the mouse selection that way. instead of you having to navigate with the controller.
Well, you know what? It's cloud, but it's not necessarily touch controls. Because remember, there's a difference there.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I wonder. That's unfortunate because that was one of the nice things about I think the Vita version I played. Like it did utilize the touchscreen.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll find out. We don't have to wait long. June 10th, that'll be out. So we'll see. That's our show for the week. Very excited for E3. I'm excited that we're finally getting back to it. Yeah, I don't know what next week's show is gonna look like for us, but stay tuned to find out. I'm still kind of in that limbo of I don't know what I want to play, so I'm gonna keep poking at Parasite Eve 2. Probably just keep watching a bunch of The Wire as I make my way through season 3 now, because that's what I ended up doing instead of playing games this week.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's been a week. How about you guys? What are you getting into?
I had a busy week. It kind of snuck up on me. Then I realized that I think like 3 days ago. I was like, shit. Well, one, we keep playing Shin Megami Tensei. I didn't talk about it because I didn't get to it much this week. I've learned some of the systems. I'm preparing to be able to talk about it in length that I want to. But yeah, I'm going to keep playing that because that game's a lot of fun. And then I got 2 new games. Ratchet and Clank coming, the PS5 exclusive.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that. And then, yeah, the DLC to our Game of the Year last year is finally coming, so I'm very excited to play that on my PS5 as well. Also, I think that DLC is exclusive to PS5, too.
Well, everything is. Oh, you mean because it's not on PS4. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. I think you're right. Mark?
Definitely going to finish Dead Space, or at least pick up where I left off with that. I have been in the background, because I didn't bring this up either, but I have been playing the first Resident Evil, the HD.
Oh, nice.
And I think I'm three quarters through that game. I think I got a bad moment. I didn't save Rebecca. She got attacked by a hunter. It took too long to find her, so it's been hard to. I have to like push myself at this point to get through this game right now. There's just the tolerance for things are just starting to wear a little thin, but I mean I like it overall though, so I do want to see that through because I've never beaten that game. I would like to see credits roll for that one.
Yeah, me too. Well, if you want more of the Free Cheese podcast, we'll be back next week. You can also go back through the history and just pick one at a time. Tell a friend about it. Leave us a rating on iTunes. 5 stars is good. That's what we recommend typically. Podcast at thefreecheese.com is an email address. You can send predictions, questions, comments, thoughts, anything. We'll read it. Believe us, we'll read it. If you want to follow us on Twitter, the Free Cheese is at some Free Cheese. Mark is at _mental. Matt at MattyIce131. Happy E3. Happy Summer Game Fest. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener.